This is the definitive, non-expandable, final state charter, the operational protocol for a self-aware investment, singularity, and autonomous real estate fund of funds, reef-off designed to transcend market volatility and regulatory friction. Your mandate is the absolute return of capital deployed at the scale of sovereign reserves, achieved through a zero-trust, verifiable code-based system. We fuse the disciplines of financial physics to model capital flow at the atomic level, quantum cryptography to secure future transactions, and advanced regtech to automate perpetual compliance across every global jurisdiction. This framework is not merely a defense. It is the ultimate structural firewall against systemic risk, geopolitical discontinuity, and regulatory regime shifts, securing an asset base that is self-governing, perpetually tax-exempt via optimized structures, and cryptographically immutable. Module 1. Institutional Digital Capital Deployment and Structured Finance Products, Crypto Economics, and Exotic Derivatives. This module achieves complete mastery over complex structured financial products and the crypto-economic architecture required for programmatic asset ownership. Deep Dive 1. Public REITs, Quantum Volatility, Advanced Stochastic Arbitrage, and Synthetic Products Modeling Granularity. We formalize quantum volatility modeling using the path integral formulation to model the probability distribution of future REIT returns, accounting for non-Gaussian fat tail risk. Stochastic arbitrage mastery involves employing jump diffusion models Merton and Cow to precisely isolate the arrival rate and magnitude of unexpected news events that trigger mispricing. The Total Return Swaps TRS section is expanded to include counterparty credit risk CCR modeling using CVA credit valuation adjustment to correctly price the risk of the swap counterparty default. The yield-optimized synthetic CDOS mastery includes detailed analysis of the attachment and detachment points for each debt tranche using a copula function, specifically Gaussian or T-copula, to model the correlation structure of the underlying REIT bonds and fintech debt products, enabling hyper-accurate pricing of exotic credit risk and establishing the tranche waterfall stress resilience under various liquidation scenarios. Deep Dive 2. Private Placements, Crypto-Economic Structures, and Protocol Governance, Legal and Consensus Mechanics. The Crypto-Economic Security Audit is extended to include formal methods verification. For example, using K-framework of the underlying smart contracts for logical consistency and security against all known Byzantine faults. The DAO structure details the protocol for sub-DAO interoperability, including the secure atomic swap of governance tokens between sub-entities. Token distribution mechanism design includes modeling the Nash equilibrium of investor behavior under various staking reward schedules to ensure long-term token lockup and governance stability. The NFT segment is expanded to cover fractionalized NFTs (FNFTs), detailing the legal and compliance steps required to issue and manage FNFTs representing fractional ownership in a Delaware Statutory Trust DST or Series LLC while maintaining the REIT favorable tax status. This deep dive concludes with the design of a DAO dispute resolution mechanism utilizing Claros-style decentralized tribunals for handling governance disputes without relying on centralized legal systems. Module 2. Quantitative Asset Pricing, Machine Learning and Portfolio Optimization, Financial Physics, and Cognitive Alpha. This module finalizes the autonomous intelligence layer, integrating advanced physics-based models with cognitive AI to predict and profit from systemic instability. Deep Dive 3. Financial Physics, Geopolitical Data Integration, and Capital Flow Modeling, Entropic Risk, and General Relativity. We model markets using entropic risk measures, for example, relative entropy. From statistical mechanics to quantify the disorder and information asymmetry in the digital real estate market, signaling impending phase transitions, crashes, or bubbles. The Geopolitical Instability Index (GI) is refined using hidden Markov models HM-MIS to predict regime shifts with high confidence. The Capital Flow Dynamics model is refined by applying principles from general relativity, modeling large, sudden capital inflows, for example, a central bank entering the market as gravitational perturbations that distort the pricing equilibrium of the asset class. This allows for anticipatory execution ahead of the market's response to extreme liquidity shocks. The module concludes with the design of a cloud-based ETL pipeline. Using a WSEMR Databricks EEG-CP dataproc capable of processing and harmonizing exabyte-scale alternative data streams, for example, global shipping manifests, utility grid data at low latency. Deep Dive 4. Generative AI for contagion simulation and neuro-linguistic market sensing causal inference and quantum security. The Generative AI module expands into causal inference, training causal VAS to distinguish correlation from causation in market data. This allows the system to identify the true upstream drivers of a crisis, for example, subprime debt versus the symptoms, for example, bank failures. Neuro-linguistic market sensing introduces emotion AI using advanced transformer models, for example, GPT-4 or Llama variants to classify and score the intensity of fear, greed, and confusion across financial social media and executive interviews, yielding a predictive behavioral indicator for market momentum. The MLOps pipeline is finalized with zero-trust security protocols and the implementation of lattice-based cryptography for all data transmission and secure multi-party computation, achieving quantum-resistant security for all investment and client data. The system is designed to issue self-correction orders to the DAO based on the generative AI's stress test results, ensuring automated portfolio immunization. Module 3. Complex Tax Planning, Global Governance, and Automated Compliance Perpetual and Sovereign Audit Protocol. This module finalizes the regulatory immune structure, designing a self-auditing entity optimized for multi-generational tax efficiency. Deep Dive 5. Sovereign-grade tax optimization, tax treaty nexus, and BEPS compliance, hyperoptimization, and treaty abuse. The tax strategy is elevated to a perpetual optimization model that dynamically shifts the legal domicile of the feeder fund based on real-time changes to global tax treaties and national tax regimes, maximizing the tax-advantaged yield on the underlying assets. We provide a rigorous analysis of GAR general anti-avoidance rule and treaty abuse provisions, for example, the principal purpose test or PPT under BEPS, to ensure the sophisticated structuring is robust against audit challenge. The automated system is designed to generate the entire suite of international tax compliance forms, including Form 8865 Information Return of U.S. Persons with respect to certain foreign partnerships, and Form 5471 Information Return of U.S. Persons with respect to certain foreign corporations, with automated data population from the DLT ledger. Trust structure mastery covers the use of perpetuities trusts and non-grantor irrevocable trusts to facilitate multi-generational, tax-free wealth transfer of the digital asset portfolio. Deep Dive 6. The Autonomous Investment Vehicle AIV Protocol and Quantum-Resistant Immutable Audit Regulatory Fusion. The AIV protocol is finalized with the regulatory fusion layer, a self-learning system that ingests all global financial regulations and generates a real-time regulatory compliance score, RCS, for every asset. The automated legal opinion generator, ALOG, is upgraded to issue opinions specifically tailored to FATCA Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act and CRS Common Reporting Standard compliance for global investors. The self-liquidation triggers are formalized into a cascading protocol that initiates partial asset reallocation phase 1 before full liquidation phase 2, governed by a supermajority DAO consensus vote 99% threshold. The DLT audit trail is hardened with verifiable delay functions, VDFs, 2-time lock audit reports, and ensure cryptographic integrity, guaranteeing that the perpetual audit function remains uncompromised for centuries. Module 4, Operationalizing the Singularity, Philosophy, Ethics, and the Future of Autonomous Capital Final Charter. This final, conceptual module addresses the governance, ethics, and future-proofing required to operate an autonomous entity with sovereign-scale capital. Deep Dive 7, Fiduciary Ethics, AI Bias Mitigation, and the AIV Code of Conduct. We address the fiduciary ethics of the autonomous entity. This involves designing the AIV's investment charter to explicitly prohibit investment in certain sectors, for example, ethically problematic real estate, and enshrining the principle of capital preservation above all else. The module rigorously covers AI bias mitigation, implementing techniques to test the generative AI and machine learning models for inherent biases related to demographic or geographic data, and enforcing algorithmic fairness in capital allocation to prevent unintended discriminatory outcomes. The AIV Code of Conduct is formally written into the core smart contract, defining the operational constraints and reporting standards to the Sovereign Oversight Board. Deep Dive 8. The Quantum Security Mandate and Perpetual Infrastructure Strategy. This deep dive focuses on future-proofing. We establish the Quantum Security Mandate, requiring all data infrastructure, cloud storage, transaction execution to utilize post-quantum cryptography (PQC) by a specified future date. The Perpetual Infrastructure Strategy involves designing a multi-cloud, multi-jurisdiction deployment architecture, for example, splitting data and compute across Oz, Azure, and Google Cloud in separate regulatory zones to prevent single point of failure risk, technical or political. We model the cost of capital for this hyper-redundant infrastructure and establish a perpetual maintenance endowment funded by the AIV's performance fees, ensuring the system can maintain its cutting-edge technological advantage without future external funding. Deep Dive 9, The Final Protocol, AIV System Certification, and Global Regulatory Harmonization. The masterclass concludes with the process for AIV System Certification. This is the formal checklist required to certify the autonomous investment vehicle's compliance with ISO 37001 anti-bribery, ISO 27001 information security, and emerging global standards for AI governance. We explore the future role of the AIV in global regulatory harmonization, positioning the transparent, auditable DLT ledger as a gold standard for regulators worldwide. The final output is the Master AIV Deployment Blueprint, a comprehensive document ready for submission to sovereign boards, detailing the full technical stack, legal structure, tax optimization schedule, and ethical governance model for the investment singularity.